Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be going through and reviewing and ranking all of the episodes of Tales of the Empire. So I did a video a little bit ago reviewing and ranking all the episodes of Tales of the Jedi. So that is up on my channel if you're interested in watching that. And I loved Tales of the Jedi. Overall, I gave that like 10 out of 10 because I loved that show. Tales of the Empire was really good, but definitely not as good as Tales of the Jedi. I just didn't get the same feeling with the episodes as I got with Tales of the Jedi. So I gave it an 8 out of 10. I still enjoyed it. I would still definitely rewatch it in the future, but just it wasn't as good as I was hoping it would be, especially in comparison to Tales of the Jedi. I still recommend it though if you are a big Star Wars fan. Still absolutely recommend Tales of the Empire. But in this video, I am going to be going pretty deep into each episode. So if you haven't watched Tales of the Empire yet, then I definitely recommend you watch it first and then come back to this video, because I'm going to be talking about every single episode and go into depth of every single episode. Let's get started. The very first episode is called Path of Fear. And the first 3 episodes really focus on Morgan Elsbeth. In this first episode, she is still a teenager. She's living on Dathomir with the rest of the Night Sisters, and the episode begins where Dathomir and the Night Sisters in particular are under attack from the Separatists, and this is where we get to see General Grievous, and he ends up killing many of the Night Sisters, including Morgan's mother. So Morgan is basically the lone survivor of the attack, and she is welcomed in by the Mountain Clan. However, she doesn't really feel safe with them. She is obviously still very scared after what happened with the attack. She's worried, and a lot of the younger Mountain Clan sisters are also very worried that the droids are going to come to them and attack them. But the elder of the Mountain Clan is trying to reassure everyone and let them know, like, we are safe. And all the teenagers are saying things like, well, I'm sure like Morgan didn't think that the droids would attack her clan, but look what happened. So as I said, this episode is called Path of Fear, and I thought this was a really great title for this episode because you can very much see that fear is what is installed in both Morgan, and it is what she is pressuring upon the rest of these teenage girls to encourage them to come with her and get weapons to protect themselves, because she doesn't feel like the Mountain Clan is very protected. She doesn't feel like they have enough weapons or anything. So Morgan's fear and her instilling her fear into these young girls is really the driver of what leads to the finale of this episode, where Morgan takes 3 of the young girls, including the clan leader's daughter, back to bunker that the Night Sisters had to get some weapons. However, when they go to get these weapons, they are spotted and they are attacked by some battle droids. Luckily for a few of them, the leader of the Mountain Clan sees this, and she's able to use her own powers that Morgan was never aware of. She's able to use her own powers to basically transport herself to where they are, and she's able to completely take out all of the droids just using her powers that she has, as whether it's the Mountain Clan in general or her as the leader and the elder. She has these powers that she's able to basically take out all of the droids, and she's able to save most of the girls. However, it's her own daughter that dies from this attack. It's also interesting because one of the things that Morgan says to this daughter, she says, I had to watch my own mother die. Do you want to do the same thing? And basically uses that to like peer pressure her into doing these things, like going to get weapons. And it ends up being this daughter that ends up being the one who dies, and then her mother has to watch her die. So it's a very emotional episode. And the last thing that is said to Morgan at the end of this episode, when basically the Mountain Clan leader kicks her out and exiles her, she doesn't necessarily say that exactly, but you can tell that's what she's going at, because it was Morgan's fault that now her daughter has died. So she exiles her from the Mountain Clan, and she says to her, I can see that this is the path you're headed down. And it's true, because we see in 2 more episodes of Tales of the Empire, as well as The Mandalorian, and then eventually Ahsoka, we see the path that Morgan goes down, in the sense that she joins the Empire, thinking that the Empire will bring peace and that'll help her get her revenge that she so desperately wants from what happened to her entire Night Sister clan. So that was the first episode, Path of Fear. I really liked that episode, and we will get to my ranking of everything at the end of this video. Episode 2 is called The Path of Anger. This one follows Morgan Elspeth again, as she is now magistrate of her village. I forget the name of it. I know they said it and I forget it, but the village we see her in when we meet her in The Mandalorian season 2. She is magistrate, and obviously at this point the Empire is still very much in power. They mention that there's talks of a growing rebellion, but at this point in time the Empire is very much in power. It begins with her going to a meeting with the Empire where she's trying to sell some new fighters that her village has created, because the planet that this village is on is very high in resources. So they've created these new fighters that she believes are more efficient and powerful than TIE fighters. However, they are absolutely not interested in these at all. But there is one member of this board meeting that sticks around after the meeting is over to chat with her. He's asked to sit in on these meetings by someone who is more powerful than the rest of these members, and he's basically there to report back to this person he works for if he finds anyone of interest to them. And he thinks Morgan Elspeth is really interesting. He likes what she brings to the table, so he questions her, asks her things like, why are you loyal to the Empire? And eventually she goes back to her home planet where everyone is mad at her because they were promised wealth, they were promised some sort of profit from building these fighters that she was going to bring to the Empire, but obviously with the Empire not wanting them, they are left with nothing. So they blame her, as she is the magistrate of this village. She is upset though, because she does feel like everyone is turning on her, especially because nothing was bought by the Empire. Everyone is mad at her, so she feels like they are turning on her, and it's similar to like how she felt when she was on Dathomir and all her sisters were being slaughtered. And when it is evening and she is standing in her very heavily guarded home, looking out over her village and her people, that she is attacked by a character named Rook. He was a very big character, for sure in season 4. I don't know if he was in season 3, but he was in Star Wars Rebels. He was someone we all loved to hate. He's a creepy looking, four-legged crawling creature that goes after the rebels. He works for Thrawn. Spoiler alert. So he attacks her and he puts up a good fight, but she is able to defeat him and get him like knocked down. After she defeats Rook, then the member of the Empire board that she was speaking to earlier, he comes out of nowhere and basically tells her like this was a test. We sent him here to see what would happen if he attacked you and you passed the test. And then, like I said, spoiler alert, Admiral Thrawn comes out and offers her basically a position to work with him with the Empire. And he asks her again the same thing that this other person asked her before. Why do you want to work with the Empire? And she straight up says, revenge. I want to destroy my enemies who destroyed my culture and my life. And one of the final scenes we see in this particular episode is 3 of Thrawn's Star Destroyers coming to the planet, and he lets her know that these are completely at her disposal and she can use these destroyers in any way that she needs, and long live the Empire. This episode actually kind of confused me. I'm just very confused. Obviously, we don't know a ton about Morgan Elspeth, so I'm just very confused how she ended up on this planet and how she became a whole magistrate of this village that she obviously just stumbled upon. So that confuses me. I'm also confused why she joins the Empire, thinking that they're the ones who will help her get revenge. I don't know. This is the only episode we see Thrawn. He, as amazing and as cool as Thrawn is, I wish we would have seen more from Thrawn. I just think he's such a cool character, and I always wish there was just more things to do with Thrawn, even kind of like relaying it to you. I just don't understand a lot about it. This was a very confusing episode for me, and I feel like I need to understand more about like Morgan Elspeth to understand everything that has happened to lead up to this episode. I don't understand why the Empire turned her down. They didn't want these fighters that she had created. She keeps saying things like, they don't want my designs, they want my mind. She also says things like, they're just gonna steal my designs and make a cheaper version of it. I'm very confused. This episode was kind of confusing for me. That was the Path of Anger. So episode 3 is called Path of Hate, and this episode does answer some questions that I did have about the second episode. For example, there is a character, he says that he gave up his power and gave it to Morgan Elspeth, and he regrets that because he thought that she would offer protection, which obviously she does offer protection, but at what cost, in the sense that she is working these people day and night and they are getting slave wages, are not getting paid well at all. And yes, they are protected, but it is just simply out of fear that they are staying there. A few of my questions were answered. This episode starts with a character named Nadura coming back to the village. She apparently grew up there and she was able to escape, and now she is part of the New Republic. So this is one minor issue I had with Tales of the Empire, was I feel like they made the choice to keep the Elspeth episodes together, and then in the next 3 episodes we focus on a second character, but the episodes are completely out of order. So in this episode, Nadura tells everyone that the Galactic Empire has been destroyed and now everything is under the order of the New Republic. So this obviously would be the final episode if this was in like chronological order. And I feel like this would have been a great last episode, like the way that this episode ends. It would have been a really cool finale. So I'm kind of disappointed that they made the decision to do these episodes like one character and then a second character, opposed to having them in order of how they would have happened chronologically. But that's just a nitpicky thing. I think it worked well for Tales of the Jedi. Yes, the Dooku episodes were all together, but we got like an Ahsoka and then 3 Dooku episodes and then 2 more Ahsoka episodes. So I thought it still worked really well. Even though they weren't like following the same character consistently, I thought it worked well that it followed the timeline consistently. So that's just one nitpicky thing I have to say about Tales of the Empire. So Nadura comes back to this planet, which I wrote down is called Corvus. She goes back to this planet because she has petitioned for this planet to be partnered with the New Republic. However, in doing so, this would mean that Morgan has to step down as magistrate. And we all know from the Mandalorian that she ain't about that life. She does not want to relinquish any sort of power that she has, because she is very clearly driven by a lot of things, which we followed in the last 3 episodes, which are her fear, her anger, and now in this episode, her hate. She's driven by all of those things to such an extent that she has no intention of giving up her power to the New Republic. And we see that Morgan has absolutely no problem killing Nadura and all of her guards in order to keep her power and keep her people safe in her sense of the word. She still believes that what they are doing is for the betterment of the galaxy. She doesn't even say necessarily the Empire. She just wants power in terms of thinking that she is doing well by the galaxy. But obviously we all know that she is not. So I really liked how this episode ended. As I said, I think this would have been a really cool finale because this would have been chronologically the last episode if they had followed that order. So this episode ends with Nadura running back to her ship where she has her R8 droid send a distress signal. And at the very end of this episode, she hands the comm link to the original character that was mentioning earlier that he had given up his power to Morgan. She hands him the comm link with the distress signal sending. And the first time I watched Tales of the Empire, me and Sam guessed who the character was, but in rewatching it, I watched it with subtitles, so I am able to confirm that at the very end of this episode, it is Bo-Katan who picks up the signal, and we all know from The Mandalorian that it was Bo-Katan who eventually sends Din Djarin to this planet But none of that is seen, obviously, in this episode. The last thing we see is Bo-Katan's voice on the comlink saying, "What's going on? I received your distress signal," and then Morgan destroys the comlink. The episode ends with her basically walking away from this explosion, you know, super duper cool, looking super fly. But like I said, I think this would have been a really cool way to end the season, just showing that Morgan just doesn't care. She doesn't really care what side she's on. She just wants power. She wants her revenge, as she stated in the last episode. I liked this episode. I thought it was really good. I thought it was a really good kind of wrap up for the season for Morgan's character. Obviously, we get more Morgan in Mandalorian and then a lot of her in Ahsoka. So I thought it was very cool. I liked this episode. And then the last 3 episodes, we follow a new character. So I'm excited to talk about those. So episode 4 is where we start a new storyline with a new character, and that is Barriss, who, if you've seen the Clone Wars, you will recognize. If you haven't seen the Clone Wars, unfortunately, you're not really gonna know who she is. It's been a while since I've watched the Clone Wars, so I don't remember exactly what she did, but a character who worked for the Jedi Council. He wasn't a Jedi, but he just worked in the temple. He set off an explosion that killed a bunch of people. And when he was arrested, Ahsoka went to interrogate him. Barriss, behind a wall of some sort, killed him. And so the Jedi believed it was Ahsoka who did it, and Ahsoka had to prove her innocence. And finally, it was Anakin who proved that it was Barriss, and Barriss was arrested. So this episode picks up with Barriss. She's in jail serving her life sentence, and the Jedi Temple has been invaded, and the Jedi are being disbanded. A new character, maybe this character existed again in the Clone Wars, but it's been a long time since I've watched the Clone Wars, but a new character named Lynn comes to the cell where Barriss is being held and offers her an opportunity to come and join her. Barriss has basically no idea what this is. She agrees to go with Lynn, and they take her, and she learns that the Jedi have attempted to assassinate Chancellor Palpatine. She learns that the Republic has been reorganized into the Galactic Empire, and she is offered a role as an Inquisitor. However, in doing this, she must pass some tests. So she trains with the Grand Inquisitor that we all know and love from Rebels. Also, when she goes, she runs into a friend of hers. I don't know if this is a character who she knew from when she was a Jedi, but his name is Dante, and he is also there to train to be an Inquisitor or to take these tests to potentially become an Inquisitor. However, the two of them are pinned against each other, and obviously they are told only one of them can survive and become an Inquisitor, and if they choose not to fight, they will both be killed. So at first, Barriss is very hesitant to attack Dante. She does not want to fight him. She doesn't think they necessarily have to fight, but as we saw previously in this episode, there was a third member who didn't want any part of this and walked away, but we learn that he was killed by the Inquisitor. So Dante is frightened, and he obviously does not want to die, and he knows that they will kill him because they killed this other boy. So he attacks Barriss. She defends herself at first and still does not want to fight. She is very adamant that she does not want to fight, but eventually she does defend herself and straight up kills Dante by using the Force to choke and kill him. Dante dies, and Barriss is obviously offered the role as an Inquisitor. The Grand Inquisitor introduces her to some other Inquisitors, which include Lynn and also the Inquisitor that we saw at the end of Tales of the Jedi, who went after Ahsoka. And then they are also introduced to their new master, which is the awesome one and only Darth Vader. And again, this episode ends in the same way as episode 2, where we all say, "Long live the Empire." I liked this episode. I thought it was very interesting to see this character who was once a Jedi going so radically in a different direction and joining the Empire. And not only joining the Empire, but becoming an Inquisitor to hunt down and kill the remaining Jedi. I thought it was very cool to see this, especially from a character that we all watched and saw what she did in the Clone Wars. This technically wouldn't have been the first episode if these had gone chronologically. Path of Fear would have been first. If this had been first or even second, I thought this would have been a really great way to start the series, especially with how Tales of the Jedi ended. I thought this would be really cool to just right away kick off with the start of the empires. That was episode 4, Devoted. And this episode follows Barris, who is now a full-fledged Inquisitor, going with Lynn to hunt down a Jedi. When they get to the planet, Barris is immediately just so upset with how badly these people are living. She's like, how can the Empire allow this? And Lynn has an excuse for absolutely everything. We see this throughout the entire episode, and she says, how can the Empire allow this? Lynn's excuse for this is once they conform to how the Empire wants things, then the Empire will support them and they will flourish, but they need to also support the Empire. They go into this town and they are asking people where the Jedi is. We see Lynn being very aggressive towards the people, saying they need to tell her. And we see Barris very kindly approaching a young boy who is obviously very scared. And she asks him where the Jedi is, and this boy tells her because she's being compassionate to him. She's not demanding it from him the way Lynn is demanding it from other people of this village. It's very clear that the reason Barris wants to know and is asking is because she cares about these people and she wants the Empire to support them. From what Lynn has told her, the Empire will support them once they reveal where the Jedi is and they're able to find this Jedi. So Barris believes that by asking this boy and talking to him and figuring out where the Jedi is, she believes she's doing right by these people. In a similar sense to the last episode of Tales of the Jedi, we still see that no matter what, the Empire, all they care about is themselves and their power, because even after the little boy reveals where the Jedi is hiding, Lynn kills almost every single person who lives in this village, basically only leaving this young boy alive because they lied to her by saying that the Jedi wasn't there. So again, we saw this in Tales of the Jedi where the boy reported that Ahsoka was living on this planet that he lived on, and then the Empire came and destroyed everything. Very similar, even though they have now been told where the Jedi is, Lynn still took it upon herself for the Empire to kill everyone for not complying immediately. And again, as they walk to find the Jedi, every single thing Lynn has an excuse for the Empire. Barris says things like, we're Inquisitors, we're supposed to bring order, not chaos. And Lynn's excuse for this is they were supporting the rebels and it's the rebels who are bringing the chaos. So I'm eliminating the chaos, so I still am bringing order to everything. Barris says things like, you made these people scared of us. Even though you killed everyone, people are gonna hear about this and they're gonna be scared of us. They're gonna be scared of the Inquisitors. They're gonna be scared of the Empire. How is that benefiting the Empire? And again, Lynn has an excuse. She just says they're scared of us anyway because they were hiding a Jedi, so I don't care. I feel like she's just trying to understand mentally her place as a Inquisitor, and you just can tell from the very beginning of this episode that she is so absolutely conflicted. We saw that in Devoted. We saw that she did not want to fight Dante, but she only did to defend herself. She so very clearly does not understand her place as an Inquisitor, a part of the Empire, and she doesn't understand what the Empire is trying to achieve with what they are essentially doing. We see that so much through this entire episode, and it makes sense that this episode is called Realization, because she just can't realize what is going on with the Empire and realizes this is not her place. They eventually do find the Jedi. Lynn attacks the Jedi. The Jedi is able to overtake Lynn, knocks her down, and even though Barris does pull her lightsaber and fights the Jedi, she says over and over and over again, you need to surrender. Like, I don't want to kill you. Are you not tired of running? Like, we can help you. Like, you just need to surrender. And the Jedi does put away their lightsaber. They say how tired they are and they just can't do this anymore. They are right about ready to surrender to Barris when Lynn comes out of nowhere and almost kills the Jedi. And Barris is so very clearly upset by this, saying they were gonna surrender, you didn't have to do that. she's relieved when she realizes that the Jedi is alive, but Lynn does not care. She's ready to leave this Jedi. And then it is at this point Barriss truly realizes this is not where she belongs. She does not want any single part of this empire, and tells Lynn, then you have one more Jedi you need to kill. And Lynn instantly pulls her lightsaber and is about to kill and fight Barriss, but Barriss overtakes her and just basically uses the Force to push her off this mountain that they're on. And we essentially think she dies, but then we find out in the next episode she does not die. Barriss goes to this Jedi who is still alive and promises to take care of them, and she's not going to let them die. I thought this was an absolutely great episode in seeing Barriss's absolutely conflicting views. Like, obviously she thought the Empire was right because of her views of the Jedi and being arrested and being given a life sentence for what she did during the Clone Wars. She obviously thought it was like the correct choice for her to be part of the Empire and destroy the Jedi that she was so firmly against in the Clone Wars. But then this episode, she truly sees what the Empire is doing and sees this is not right. And sure, maybe the Jedi I believed betrayed me, but this is betraying the people. This is betraying everybody. And I just thought this was such a great episode. I loved seeing Barriss just so conflicting. And then just seeing like the side of the Empire where, again, they have an excuse for everything, that they're so right in everything that they are doing. I just thought this episode was brilliant. One more episode to go. Then the last episode of Tales of the Empire, it's called The Way Out. And this episode picks up with Barriss many years later. We can very much see in the animation she is much older than she was in both Devoted and Realization. So even though she is older and obviously quite a bit of time has passed, we are obviously still living in the age of the Empire, and we learn this because a family is seeking out a healer because the Empire has come to them and they want to take their child. And this healer that they end up going to is Barriss. It was pretty obvious from the very beginning of this episode that this healer was going to be Barriss. They go to her because they don't know what's wrong with their son, that the Empire wants him. And Barriss basically explains if their son had been born during the Republic, he would have been taken to the Jedi Temple and trained to be a Jedi. But now that it is the age of the Empire want to take him and kill him because they don't want any more Jedi. So as she is speaking to them, it's again made very clear that she has gone completely back to her ways as a Jedi. She is 100% no longer part of the Empire. She does not stand for anything that they are doing, and she has made her own little group of people and followers. It's only 2 other people, but some people that are very loyal to her that help bring this family to her. And then when they need to escape, they say they'll come back for Barriss, and she says you don't need to, but they are obviously very loyal to Barriss. The family does need to escape because they realize an Inquisitor has found them, and we very soon realize that that Inquisitor is Lynn. So obviously, as I did say before, but she did not die in the last episode when Barriss pushed her off of the mountain. She did survive, and she says they spent many years looking for Barriss because she was a traitor. She betrayed the Inquisitors and betrayed the Empire. And Lynn even says, isn't it funny that at this moment when I'm not actually looking for you, I'm looking for this child, but now is when I find you. So Barriss doesn't even necessarily stop Lynn from going after this family. She does let them have a head start, and she doesn't even fight Lynn. She never pulls a saber or a weapon or anything. Lynn does pull her lightsaber in an attempt to get past Barriss, but Barriss just moves to the side. She never pulls any sort of weapon in fighting Lynn. And she eventually even does let Lynn go into this big ice cavern thing that the family has gone into with Barriss's like followers that are helping this family escape. But she warns her, she's like, you won't be able to find it on your own. Like, you let me help you. I'll go in there with you, but you have to let go of your fear. Lynn is very confident. She's like, I'm not afraid of the Empire. Fear is my ally. But then when Barriss lets Lynn go into this ice cavern, she's lost, she's disoriented, and eventually the family does get away on Barris's ship. The two people that are with Barris, they get on the ship with the family and they take off. Also, I'll mention, Barris did say they will take you to someone who will protect your son, and it's never confirmed, but one can assume that it's Ahsoka that they're taking this child to. Nothing can be confirmed because Barris never says a name. All she says is she will take care of him, so we know it's a female character. We never see this child again. His name's Micah. The best bet that I can assume is that they take the child to see Ahsoka. So the family does get away, they escape, but then Lynn is still trapped and she cannot get out, and you can see that she is no longer using fear as like her ally, as she says. She's just scared because she can't figure out a way out, and she's so disoriented, and she just starts slashing at the ice with her lightsaber as she's so scared. But not only is she scared that she can't get out, she's scared because she knows she cannot return to the Empire, having failed, both lost the child and potentially lost Barris again. And then we hear the voice of Barris talking to Lynn saying like, let me help you. And she's like, no, you can't help me. I can't go back to the Empire. I'm a failure. And Barris says to her, it would appear that fear isn't your ally, it's actually your master. Even though fear is the path to the dark side and fear is something that they say that they use their fear. Obviously, Lynn is still frightened for her own life, that she feels like she can't go back to the Empire having failed again. Obviously, she failed to get the Jedi in the last episode. She's been searching for Barris for all these years and she's failed, and now this child that she was sent to go find has escaped, so she's failed again. So she can't go back to the Empire. She's so scared, and Barris says, let me help you. Lynn whips around with her lightsaber and kills Barris. She stabs Barris in the stomach with her lightsaber, but she says to Barris, you still need to help me find the way out. And Barris says to her, before Barris dies, she says, you know the way out. You just have to let go and you have to accept the way out. Metaphorically saying she has to let go of being a part of the Empire because the Empire is holding her back, and it's her fear that's keeping her trapped here. And if she just lets go of all of this, she'll be able to get out. With that being said, Lynn picks up Barris's body and carries her, and she leaves behind her Inquisitor lightsaber and carries her. And the last shot we see, not only of the episode but of the entire series, is Lynn carrying Barris out of this ice cavern. So she was able to still get out despite the fact that Barris potentially died in her arms. We don't actually see her die, but we can assume that she passed away and Lynn was still able to get out. So that was all the episodes of Tales of the Empire. So I did rewatch it a second time to film this video, and rewatching it, I actually think I liked it more upon the second watch. I'm still gonna hold on to my 8 out of 10 ranking. I feel like Tales of the Jedi was just so good that I was just holding this to that standard. I just had to take it as its own thing, which watching it a second time, I did take it as its own thing, and I still really enjoyed it. As much as Tales of the Jedi, no, but I think I do like it more upon second watch. So with all that being said, this is my ranking of all 6 episodes. So I'm gonna scoot over to the side and I will rank them as I did with Tales of the Jedi. So I will do my favorite at the top, my least favorite at the bottom. My least favorite at the very bottom, you can probably tell from me talking about it, is Path of Anger. As I said, I was just very confused by a lot of the things that happened in that episode. So least favorite episode is the Path of Anger, followed by The Way Out. So my first viewing of Tales of the Empire, I did actually have The Way Out as my second last favorite episode, but rewatching them, I actually liked The Way Out a lot more. The only thing is, I liked all the other episodes similarly, so unfortunately, I like this episode more than I remembered upon my first viewing, but it still is only 5th out of 6th place because I still liked the episodes better, but I did still really like The Way Out, especially upon second watching. Then 4th place is going to go to The Path of Hate. I loved this episode. I thought it was really good, and like I said, I just wish they would have done these episodes in chronological order opposed to the order that they chose, because I feel like this episode, because this would have been the last episode, I think it would have been so much better had this been the last episode. I think it just would have like finished off this series in such a great way. But either way, I still really like this episode. So 4th place goes to Path of Hate, and then 2nd place is going to go to The Path of Fear. I thought this was a great episode. It was a great introduction to Morgan, because again, yes, we got a little bit of Morgan in The Mandalorian and we got quite a bit of her in Ahsoka, but I thought this was a great way to kind of start her story. Also, I just love everything to do with the Night Sisters. I think they're such a cool part of the Clone Wars, so I really liked that. I thought it was great. My 2nd favorite episode is Devoted. So this was Barris's 1st episode. This would have been the 2nd episode if this had gone in chronological order, and I just thought this was really good. I really liked seeing Barris's very hesitant transformation from what she was as a imprisoned ex-Jedi to an Inquisitor, and just seeing that she obviously was unsure of this decision. My favorite episode, episode 4, Realization. This is where we very much see Barris just completely questioning everything to do with the Empire. And even though, like I said, she had her questions about the Jedi when she was a Jedi, obviously she's so just very confused by everything, and we get to really see that and see that all play out in this episode, and I loved it. So those are all the episodes of Tales of the Empire. Ranked, in my opinion, I liked them all very much. Besides Path of Anger, like I said, I was just very confused by it. I just didn't understand a lot about it, but I mean, it also had Thrawn, so Thrawn is just amazing. There you have it. That is going to be it for this video. That is a little summary and a ranking of all of the episodes of Tales of the Empire. Like I said, I did like this show, not as much as Tales of the Jedi, but upon rewatching, I think I liked it a lot more. So that is going to be it for now. I still would love if they came out with more of these, because I think they're so much fun. They're so quick to go through. Like, you can watch these in an hour, because it's 6 10-minute long episodes. They're so quick, so short, which is why I'm able to do videos like this for this show, because it's just very easy and quick to get through. So I would love if they did more. I would love like a Tales of the Resistance or something to follow Tales of the Empire. So I'm excited if that ever happens. I think it's gonna be so fantastic, and I can't wait. But that's going to be it for today. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you liked it, I would love it if you would like and subscribe. I post new videos every single Friday, and I would love to have you here. Thank you for watching. I'll talk to you later. Bye, everybody.